Okay, Bob. Unfortunately, we have to talk about Sunday's collapse. You called it the worst loss in Mariners franchise history on Twitter. A day later, do you still feel that way?
Yes. Yes, I do. And what's funny is it presented a pretty interesting debate. There are a lot. What I like is you post something on Twitter, and I like when other Twitter users start going back and forth with each other, which there was a lot of that. There was a lot of anger after that game. So, yeah, and I, for those that were saying, oh, calm down, it wasn't the worst, I was, okay, tell me which one was. Well, this team's been bad for a number of years, all these, well, then those losses don't really matter. You're in a losing season, yeah, every loss stinks. But when you talk about where they're at in the season, you got 10 games left in the season, you're talking about a 3-7 road trip against the Angels, A's, and Royals. 3 bad teams, and you drop 7 of 10 to them. You could have closed the door on the are they in or are they out. You could have closed the door if you were just average on that road trip. So to have a 9-run lead and to gack it the way that they did, considering what's on the line, which is a playoff berth for the first time in 20 years, yeah, it was the worst loss in the history of this franchise. Now, people bring up the loss to the Indians. They blew a 12-run lead in 2001. That was on August 5th. There was a lot of season left, and they happened to win 116 games that year. So while that loss stinks and it's embarrassing, it meant nothing. It meant nothing to the season and their standing and whether they were in, they were out. Others said, well, they lost in the ALCS. You're right. But that means every team that doesn't win the World Series, their last loss is the worst in the history of their organization. Yeah, it stinks, but they were in the playoffs. They were in the ALCS. They lost and it was terrible, but you were there. You're trying to get there for the first time in 2 decades, and you're toying with this. You're dragging this out. You were limping to the finish line. So this was just more about icing on the cake of a dreadful road trip. And to me, it's the worst singular loss in the history of this organization based on what's at stake, where they're at in the season, and what's on the line in the way of, are they getting to the, I still think they're getting to the playoffs. They're just making it much harder than it needs to be.
So the Mariners' magic number is down to 6. Does that outweigh your concerns about the team after the weekend?
No, I've got concerns. I think you'd be foolish not to be concerned. In those 10 games, there were 5 games where they scored 1 run. So yeah, it's great that they put up 12 yesterday and they found a way to choke it. But you scored 1 run in 5 games. Listen, you're without your power hitters. You're without the Thunder in the lineup. You got Suarez out, you got Julio out, and Cal Raleigh was in, and then he left the game. We'll see what happens with him. So it's up to the rest of these guys to get it going. The good news from yesterday was seeing Mitch Haniger and Ty France come up with multiple hits each. So maybe they'll start, getting it going, and the rest of this team can pick up the slack. But, we've seen guys, this rotation has been phenomenal this year. But we've seen George Kirby throw out kind of his first dud. You saw Logan Gilbert throw out a dud. You saw Luis Castillo throw out a dud. So the timing of this, I don't know if it's fatigue, if it's happenstance, but that coupled with the injuries, coupled with the sloppy defense, and I know some of it is guys playing out of position, but their defense was struggling before these guys got hurt, and Scott Servais was talking about it, saying we got to get back to what we were before, which is a solid defensive team. And they haven't been that for a little bit now, and it's being exacerbated by Ty France playing at third, guys playing out of position. But those problems, if you look at it, were happening before these guys were playing out of position. So they've got the things that were their strengths have become weaknesses as of late. Their defense, their starters, their bullpen. So yeah, there's a little bit of concern there.
Let's rank those concerns. Hitting, pitching, defense. What's most concerning and least concerning?
Hitting is just because of the injuries. Pitching, I just feel like, all right, listen, nobody's perfect through the whole season. George Kirby's a rookie. He's been phenomenal. I'm not worried about him at all. Some are going, well, he's pitched more than he ever has. Maybe it's fatigue. Maybe, we'll find out. But I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like it's been a bad string for these guys when they've been so good. The hitting has been problematic even with the power guys. We've talked about they led the league for the majority of the season with runners stranded on base. And that's with Suarez, that's with Julio, that's with Cal, that's with everybody healthy for the most part. Now you're without those guys. It's still a concern that, yeah, you're going to get guys on. Are you going to be able to move them along? Are you going to be able to plate some of these guys? So their offense is, to me, the most concerning. Their defense is something that's within their grasp. They control that. There are certain things you can't control. You can control whether you throw to the cutoff man, whether you boot a ball or not. So yeah, it happens here and there, but to the extent it's been happening over the past month or so, that's a little bit concerning. To me, that's a focus. That could be fatigue. Who knows? Now, again, guys playing out of position, that doesn't help. But yeah, defensively, that you can control. The hitting to me is probably still my biggest concern.
What was your reaction to Luis Castillo's big extension?
I loved it. I love it. I know it sounds weird on the heels. He's had 2 rough starts in a row. The guy's got the goods. I mean, he's a top of the rotation guy. You look at anybody in baseball, they're going to have those nights, they're going to have those games where they throw out a dud, where they have that inning that gets away from them, what have you. I love the addition. This rotation moving forward, even past this season, you just look at it with him and with Robbie Ray, and then you get another year under the belt of Logan Gilbert and George Kirby coming off a phenomenal rookie year. And then Marco's just kind of that guy we've talked about who doesn't blow you away, gives up a couple runs, but you look at the end of the game, turns into a quality start. 9 times out of 10, it feels like. He's giving you at least 6, giving up 3 or fewer. So that is a really good rotation. I don't know how many rotations in baseball you could go 1 through 5 and say, yeah, we've got a really good chance of winning each and every night.
All right, next week, what do you think the vibe's going to be when we talk?
Man, I hope it's good. I hope it's good. I do not want this to come down to the wire. I do not want this to be, well, they kick this game or they kick that game, so they need to win their last 4 in a row, and they also need Baltimore to lose. Handle your business. Handle your business. The magic number 6, win 6. Win 6. Don't worry about what Baltimore's doing. It's great if they lose. Awesome. Handle your business. To me, it's more important that you find that rhythm again, that you get back into the flow that you had before. I'm not worried about are they in or are they out. I think they're going to be in, but I'd like them at least playing better going into the postseason. Just give me a feeling that you've got a shot in the postseason. Do not limp to the finish line, which is what they've been doing in this road trip. Dropping 7 of 10 to those teams is just dreadful. Losing the game the way they did is dreadful. You got 10 games left at home. Create some momentum going into the postseason. Handle your business. Don't worry about Baltimore.